This talk looks at the basics that you may already know but haven't thought about for a while. These basics show you how to stay warm, stay dry, and stay safe. A warm and dry sailor is more comfortable, has more fun, can sail longer, and can focus your energy on sailing rather than being distracted by being miserable. A safe sailor isn't banging their toes on deck fittings or falling because their shoes are slipping on a wet and moving sailboat deck. Have you thought about your sail packing choices lately? Are you overpacking? Does your boating footwear still work well? Are you staying warm on sailing trips? Choose the best fabrics for the expected sailing conditions. Cotton is great on a hot summer day. However, when conditions change, clouds appear, or drizzle, or rain occurs, it can quickly become uncomfortable. Cotton absorbs water and does not retain warmth when it is wet. Do not wear cotton when sailing in anything other than the hot days of summer. However, feel free to use cotton for going ashore. Merino wool is considered to be pleasant, soft, and skin-friendly, and a better choice for wet conditions because it warms well, whether dry or wet. It has the advantage of not absorbing odors like some synthetics do. Good on warm and cool days in socks, light shirts, and sweaters. However, it doesn't block the wind well, can be scratchy, and absorbs moisture like a sponge. Synthetics for active outdoor activities do a much better job of moving moisture away from the skin, retaining warmth when wet, and shedding rain and spray. You may have noticed that synthetics are the first thing to be dry when doing laundry. However, some synthetic fibers may hold on to odors. Some manufacturers add a finish that inhibits the buildup of odor-causing bacteria. Do I have any questions? Here's a demonstration. Go ahead. Here's a demonstration to show how poor cotton can be in cold, wet, and windy conditions. It shows the heat loss under conditions typically experienced when sailing. It compares on the left side, let's see if I can get this. On the left side, no covering on a can that's filled with water. Next is a wet cotton covering, then a wet wool covering, and on the right is a layered system. At the beginning of this demonstration, the cans were filled with warm 125-degree water and were covered with the different fabrics in a cool 40-degree wind. At the beginning of the experiment, the cans measured 125 degrees. After 50 minutes, the temperatures were measured again, and the results are shown in the second row. The surprising result is that the can with no covering is warmer than the can covered with wet cotton. The result also shows that the can covered with wool was warmer than both the naked can and the cotton covered can. We don't recommend sailing naked, but we do recommend avoiding cotton while sailing in wet, windy conditions. Of course, your body temperature is normally 98 degrees and not 125 degrees. So this demo exaggerates the cooling effect of wearing wet cotton. Ask yourself these questions when packing for a sailing trip. How wet? Assume at least one day of wet, either by wind-driven spray or rain. How cold? The water temperature usually feels up to 20 degrees cooler than the land temperatures. This cooling is because of 1, the wind chill, and 2, the cooling effect of the water on the air. How much sun? Even on a cool day, you'll get more sun than you expect. Sunlight is often reflected from the water surface and from the sails, increasing your exposure. How many days? Adjust what you pack and the number of items. Remember, you will change clothes much less frequently than on land. Also, space is limited. Everything you bring, with the exception of your wet, foul weather gear, will live with you in your bunk or cabin. Above all, bring clothing that is comfortable and easy to move in. You will look marvelous with a comfortable smile. When you step on a sailboat, the ancient art of layering becomes your thermostat. The tried and true strategy lets you regulate comfort by slipping layers on and off as your activity level or the weather changes. This slide shows the function of each layer. Wear layers under a water-resistant outer layer, but make those layers synthetic or wool, not cotton. Of course, you may bring cotton up for hot summer days or to wear ashore. Any questions? It's not. The base layer is what goes next to your skin. It should wick moisture away from the skin, dry quickly, and retain a thin layer of trapped warm air next to your skin, even when wet. To work best, it should fit closely, but not so tightly it constricts movement or blood flow. Remember, no cotton. The middle layer's main function is to insulate the body. In general, thicker or puffier equals warmer. A good middle layer is polyester fleece, available in different weights, light to heavy. It stays warm even when damp. The outer layer is designed to protect from rain, spray, and wind. Most sailors opt for a bib or pant made from waterproof nylon and a jacket from some waterproof, breathable fabric like Gore-Tex. In addition to rain and spray from the outside, an active sailor will be perspiring. And if some of that moisture can evaporate out through a fabric like Gore-Tex, the sailor will be drier and more comfortable. I find it useful to have an uninsulated outer layer and have different breathable insulated middle layers depending on the outside temperature and wind. Layering can help reduce the number of items you pack. I find that the same layer garments may be used for different purposes. For example, a lightweight base layer tee can be used alone as a top on warm or hot days. Also, I use synthetic fleece pants without an outer layer on warm, windy days. Even with lots of activity, I find that sweat quickly evaporates, yet I stay warm in windy conditions. So here we have lightweight polyester top and bottom, lightweight synthetic fleece pullover, lightweight fleece pants, lightweight waterproof breathable shell, and breathable waterproof pants. A short sleeve synthetic tee, short or long synthetic pants or convertible nylon hiking pants, lightweight wind jacket, and a brimmed hat. This combination allows for many wearable options as the wind and weather changes. Any questions or comments? You want 3 things from your sailing shoes. You want to protect your feet from water, cold, and injury. Also, the deck hardware and pointy deck fittings on a sailboat can really hurt if you're unlucky. You want a really good grip on deck in wet conditions. The moving deck will be very slippery when wet, so having soles with some sort of grip pattern is definitely a must. You don't want to leave marks on the deck. Some fiberglass decks use special paint for traction, making cleaning rubber skid marks especially difficult. Leaving shoe marks is considered a major sailing blunder. The non-skid rubber soles on boat shoes and boat sandals are developed to keep traction when the deck is tilting, rolling, and wet. This is made possible by razor cut wavy slits across the rubber sole to improve traction in wet conditions. The slits stay closed when no weight is applied, but open when a weight is applied. As they open, the sole surface is enlarged and the slits work like squeegees to grip the deck. If you don't have made soles or shoes for sailing, there are lesser acceptable alternatives. Many sneakers come with a non-marking sole and might provide adequate protection. However, please try out the sneakers beforehand because some popular sneaker soles are very slippery on a wet deck. Another good one-time alternative is canvas shoes since they dry out quickly. However, canvas shoes aren't a great long-term solution. They weather quickly. Absolutely avoid the following. Avoid shoes with corrosive metal fittings, especially in saltwater. For longer trips, don't wear canvas. Avoid leather soles. They will definitely leave skid marks on the deck. Avoid barefoot or being barefoot or flip-flops. Sandals designed for trekking are often perfectly happy in wet conditions, but typically those soles have deep treads that don't offer the best grip on a smooth deck and will also tend to trap stones and debris. Flip-flops don't protect your toes, usually don't have good traction on a hard deck, and is very easy to walk right out of them, risking injury. Pack in non-rigid stowage, pack in non-rigid luggage. Stowage on sailboats is always an issue. The art of cramming was perfected on boats, thus the preference for soft bags that are stowed more easily. Pack your gear in a non-rigid duffel or bag that, one, can be folded out of the way once you put your clothes in a locker or drawer, or two, your luggage provides access to your clothing if there is no stowage and you must live out of your bag. We also recommend, when not taking air transport to board the boat, avoid bringing wheeled luggage. Whoop. Things aren't working as I'm expecting here. Avoid bringing wheeled luggage. The wheels have been known to damage boat surfaces. Be careful when moving wheeled luggage on a boat. Ask for help to avoid expensive damage from dropped wheeled luggage. Pictured is one of the worst options for sailing luggage. Big, hard-sided luggage with tiny wheels. Sailboats do not have enough space to store luggage. Space is further limited by curved surfaces and boat parts protruding into the cabin. Hard-sided luggage generally doesn't fit very well in the geometrically challenging spaces of a sailboat. Also, the tiny wheels may damage delicate boat surfaces. The tiny wheel of a heavy bag striking the plastic deck can result in hundreds of dollars in damage fees from the charter firm. This has happened on a club trip. The Sailing Club packing list has been recently updated, and here's how to download it from the club's website. I will also include in a chat 2 links that I want to provide as handouts for this, and I'll do that shortly. I'll do that very shortly. So we reached the end of it, and I hope you enjoyed this photo because I love this one. So have a happy, warm, dry, and safe sailing trip. We've reached the end of it, but what I'm going to do is I'll unshare and I'll use the chat to provide 2 links to you. One will be to the sailing club packing list, and the other will be to a more complete document.
Thank you, Joel.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Joel.
Yeah.
As one who used to pack too much, this is good for me to focus on this.
I too pack too much, and I'm learning to pack better. So this is also a lesson for me. They say the best way to learn something is try to teach it to somebody.
Yeah, so Joel, on one of your slides, you were talking about the wrong luggage. You had two bags. One of them was like a 35-liter blue bag that was definitely soft all over. And next to it was a bag that had two wheels on the bottom. Was that intended to be a wheeled bag that you should avoid?
No, because we're realistic, because sometimes we're taking transport and we're lugging these bags through airports, long distance. I remember we were for a French trip, I lugged a bag. It didn't have wheels. I would carry it on my back. It was intentional. It was my plan. But my plan was not to be carrying that bag for over half a mile within the Charles de Gaulle Airport, which I did. But so we have to be realistic about let's get some wheel luggage if you got to take a plane and you got to haul it around the airport, because there's no way around that. Especially for most of us, there's no way around that.
Yeah, but not rigid luggage.
Yeah, but don't bring the big, heavy or the big plastic sided rigid bags, especially with the small wheels. Don't bring that aboard a boat unless you know you can unpack the contents of the bag someplace and on the boat, and then leave the bag at the charter firm. But many charter firms don't want the hassle of that. So, and they're reluctant to use all the space in their office for empty bags.
Is there a brand bag that you recommend out of curiosity?
I use a Patagonia bag, and it was mostly because the price is right. I mean, in spite of the expensive name, the price is right, because REI during before the pandemic even, I bought it probably about 3 years ago. And it's convertible, so it has straps on it. I can put it on over my shoulders. I can walk around with it. It also forces me to really consider what I'm packing, because everything I pack, I end up carrying. So
Eastern Mountain Sports also has some good.
Yeah. And something I didn't mention was there's a lot of outdoor clothing and outdoor supplies, which most of us already know, but you go and visit these places and it's amazing how much of that stuff applies to sailing, clothing, and also there's ways around it. So maybe you can avoid spending a lot of money for some things. Carhartt has some good stuff that's not very expensive, and so there's other alternatives.
It's one of the reasons we call it camping on the water.
Yeah. So something I should mention is there's upcoming talks in the month of April, and Gary Brubaker is having a talk on boating and sailing terminology on Friday, April 15th. And another member, Bob Rainey, who's also on this, is giving a talk on safety on Friday, April 29th. So I highly recommend these guys. What they have to say, and their presentation is going to be, I'm sure, excellent and worthwhile. Plus, it'll give us a chance to all get together again.
Could you guys talk a little bit about non-clothing that you should bring? Things like lights, knives.
Yeah, in fact, that'll be on the packing list. If you go and click on the packing list link, you're going to see the recommendations of things to bring. Steve Krakauer worked on that and revised it, but in each category, he has a essential and recommended. So he tries to make a distinction between on every trip, bring it, and recommended is if you have it, bring it. So, and you'll see the items like in terms of gear.
This is a good list.
Yeah, I find I read by researching this that for women there's tons of options to bring that the men don't even consider. For hot and warm days, consider swim leggings and a swim top with a sun wrap. And for ashore, shift to a lightweight skirt and tank with a tee with a sun wrap. And Mia recommended Pareo, which if you've been to Tahiti is like the 2 meter by 2 meter wrap that can be done up in all sorts of things in Tahiti. They use it for everything in terms of wearing or carrying and things like that. But it's called a Pareo, and it can serve as a towel, a skirt, sun cover up, scarf, sling, and even an emergency bag. So
I use it on every warm weather sailing trip. You don't have to be in Hawaii or Tahiti.
that's right. Yeah, I just know that term from Tahiti. But
Yeah, and I see Jan had mentioned knives. There is galley knives. It's the rare boat, but they do occur that has good sharp knives on in their galley. But unfortunately, most are not good knives. So yeah, that is if you're going to be on the Chesapeake. But yeah, it has to be checked if you're flying.
And I find having a good knife on a boat really helps.
Oh, it's important. Yeah.
You can get knives, they're not that expensive, that come with the kind of a plastic sheath for it.
Yeah, I've been told that having a dull knife is actually dangerous, but sometimes having a sharp knife I find is kind of dangerous too. But having a good sharp knife, it certainly makes the job easier, especially.
So I put in the chat if there were any CPAP users that are new to sailing. No, some people, I have been with people that if they don't use their CPAP, they don't function.
Do you have any advice for that? I've been on trips. People had a battery pack, and the issue was keeping the battery charged.
Smaller, right. And I know they have the travel CPAPs also, but I don't have one of those. Their travel CPAP in itself is about $700. And then you have to have a special battery for that. But even those batteries, you might need to charge every couple of days.
Joel, what about on the cartridges on the personal flotation devices? Is there anything new on that? Are they allowed on airplanes?
That changes. That seems to change, and I don't know what the current status is.
I brought it on trips on airlines, checking through. I mean, carrying it with me on the onboard luggage. I believe that has now changed. I believe now you have to put it in your checked bag. And there's a notation, at least when I just booked for a recent flight, where they said, and it may be confiscated.
They added a line that didn't used to be there, that it's up to the TSA officer's discretion.
Right.
So, it's, do you feel lucky? Like,
And I would also separate the
I've also found that it differs by airline as well.
Yeah.
But I do have one recommendation, and that is what you can do is print off the TSA list of permitted, where it does say you can bring that. And what I do always is I make copies of that and I attach it to everything that I think they're going to look at. So they know, I know that the rule says this. So.
You can take
Good
it
idea.
right to the cartridge, right?
no, I've done that, and I had to use it. I had to actually pull out the slip of paper and say, well, this is what I went by, and they go, oh, okay. I'm pretty sure the current rules are that you can't check lithium-ion batteries.
That's my understanding.
You got to bring them on board with you.
Luggage.
Yeah.
Any spare battery, any spare lithium batteries, like for any of your devices, need to be in your carry-on.
Oh.
So
We have to say goodbye. Good to see
Okay.
you.
Thank you for coming.
Good night.
Thanks for
Thank you,
joining
Joel.
us.
This was very helpful, Joel. Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Joel, I have to leave, but this was excellent. All right, thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you very
weekend.
much.
Good night, Virginia.